Hello, everybody. Greetings to all. Welcome to the Snooker Hall podcast. I'm Dan Murren. It is hard to believe that we are approaching the end of another snooker season, and this one has been a wild ride so far, and I'm sure the final events of the season will live up to the same standard. The tour has just left China for the last time this season, and I'm joined by someone who made the trip to Yushan. He spent a lot of time at snooker tournaments, seeing how the tour works behind the scenes, the ins and outs of the snooker calendar in several venues across the globe. He is also the host of the TW Sports Management podcast and the manager of 2 snooker world champions. I'm very happy to welcome Taylor Wilson to the Snooker Hall podcast.
Thank you very much, Dan. Pleasure to be here.
Nice to have you on. Nice to chat about snooker. I love chatting about snooker.
So do I sometimes.
So, as I mentioned in the intro, you've made the trip to Yushan. Got to ask, it's not like just going down to Edinburgh. How was the trip?
Do you know what? This time round, it was probably the hardest trip that I've actually done yet. Me and Kyron were on different planes. So, obviously, me living in Bristol now, he's still living in Kettering. I travelled to Shanghai, had to wait, so I believe it's a 10-hour flight to Shanghai. I had to wait 5 hours in the airport for Kyron to arrive. So I ended up laying on a Starbucks bench and putting my head on my backpack. Got about an hour's sleep. Kyron arrived, had an hour car journey from Shanghai to the train station, a 3-hour bullet train into Yushan, get to Yushan, and then an hour's car journey to the hotel. So yeah, it was a very long journey. Very, very long.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like, and especially if you're travelling east as well, jet lag is going to be an issue. Absolutely. Is, yeah. But how does, I don't want to say it's easier for you, but Kyron is the one who has to play. You've got to be aware, you've got to be conscious, you've got to be with it. How do you cope with that? I've travelled, whenever I'm travelling eastward, that's always harder than travelling west. How do you cope with it? Is it coffee or Red Bull? Or
me personally, I've got my own little routine now of, as soon as I arrive, I get myself straight to the gym, regardless of the time, straight into the gym. I'll probably do 30 to 40 minutes of just some weight training just to tire the body out, kind of get all of the anxiety, I suppose, out of the mind from travelling and the kind of everything that's kind of built up from travelling. Get to my room, shower, unpack, make sure everything's sorted, and I'll kind of just sit and watch a YouTube video for 30 minutes, whether it be some sort of stupid video, whether it be like a golf video, and then I'll try and get some sleep. I'll make sure the room's nice and cold, let my body kind of breathe, and hit the hay. But for someone like Kyron or Stuart or Louis, the best thing for any snooker player to do, obviously depending on ranking position, how much you're earning throughout the season, best thing to do is obviously to invest in flying business class. It sounds quite snobby to say, but they're there for work at the end of the day. They need to, if they can get 4 or 5 hours on the plane on the way there, and they're eating good food, able to drink good drinks and making sure they're staying on top of things. When they arrive, they're kind of a little bit fresher, kind of got a little bit more of an edge. And then they have their own routines to kind of go through to get themselves ready to go to sleep. The hardest thing is if you've got a nighttime flight and you arrive in the morning into China, you have to force yourself to stay awake for the day. If you have a nap throughout the day, you're a write-off for the rest of the week. That's it.
Yeah, you're done, yeah.
Yeah, you have to stay awake. So that's another thing as well. Just force yourself to stay awake and keep yourself busy throughout the day.
I lived in Seattle for 7 years, and on one occasion I was trying to find a last-minute flight back to London. And we're talking 2 days ahead here. It's not really last minute, but very, very short notice. And even the economy flight in dollars was like $4,000, so got about $3,000 in pounds. Yeah. I was like, for economy, I was like, what? And the prices of flights have gone up significantly. I remember when I used to be able to get back from the West Coast for about 500 quid return. economy, and if you wanted to go up to business, that would be about 1,500. But now it's double that for economy if you go last minute. And I suppose you say consider it an investment because all you have to do is get through 1 or 2 rounds, and you kind of make that money back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's okay. Yeah, of course, there's a risk. There's always a risk when you play sports, though. It's that difference in cost, though. That's an interesting one. Yeah.
But you know what?
The beds are good.
Yeah. But if you can give yourself that extra 1% of giving yourself the best possible chance to get off to a winning start when you arrive, me personally, I think it's worth the investment. Okay, you win your first match, you've made that money back from your airfare. You're then on to a winner, and you're kind of looking at more profit when you go into the next round. Then, so there's pros and cons to it. I suppose there's a little bit more pressure in terms of the way that you think about things. Of I need to win this match to cover my airfare, but at the same time, you're giving yourself the best chance for when you arrive to get into the swing of things straight away and get yourself off to a good routine and, settle early, I suppose.
And you see it on Instagram a lot, especially the top players. They'll take a picture of the screen where they'll watch the movies on their flight, and especially if it's a long haul flight. In your opinion, you've seen as you travelled with the tour, I would say, but how many of these players go business and how many don't? If you had to give a percentage guess, what would you say in terms of a ratio?
Do you know what? That'd actually be really hard to put a number on. You don't see many players go in business class. I would say it is, typically within the top 16 that you see, player-wise. I actually couldn't give you a number because, again, a lot of people travelling from different areas and different flights. Even my own brother was on a different flight to my own brother going out to Shanghai this time around. So, yeah, very difficult to put a number on it, but I'd say typically it would be top 16 players that are doing so. Or to top 20 players, I'd say would do so. I've seen Ali Carter put on Twitter about him flying first class back from Shanghai. Or first class back from Shanghai even.
I thought he'd be the pilot personally,
but nice, very good.
Yeah, pleased with that.
Yeah, I just think it's more of an investment than anything. It's hard to kind of swallow the fee when you're booking. If you're looking at £3,000 to £4,000, it's a stupid amount of money to travel. But if you can kind of give yourself a better chance to earn more when you're there, I think it's well worth it.
I suppose I don't want to turn this into an airfare podcast, but I live in Copenhagen. If I fly back to London, if I see the difference to travel economy or first class is 200 quid, I'm not doing it because it's an hour and a half. But if I see a 200 quid difference for an 8-hour flight, I'm doing it. I'm absolutely doing it because it is worth it. And I suppose it is that time versus cost. But that's just for a holiday or go and visit people back home.
Yeah.
If you're actually going for work, as you said, and I suppose I've never really considered it that way, you're going for work. You're going to earn a living. And if you give yourself a good chance, even just that little, as you said, 1%, if you have rested better, you're just going to be, especially with a sport that puts so much focus on mental strength. It's I've never really considered it that way.
But it's similar to the golfers or F1 drivers. They're all travelling private jets with beds on and all sorts. It's hard to see where snooker's at currently in terms of if you were to do like a tier list of sports in terms of what was an A-list sport, B, C, so on and so forth. Snooker's not an A-list sport currently. You're looking more to DE sport. We're quite low down in terms of the spectrum of how luxurious the sport can be. But at the end of the day, if you want to be at the top end of the rankings, you need to prepare well. You need to do the right things. And if that comes at a cost of, unfortunately, putting yourself under it a little bit to start off your event by travelling business class and being ready to play, then so be it. I'll tell you, like you said, you don't want to turn this into a airfare podcast, but one thing that I did that I've got massive bragging rights in my family about is we took our dad to Saudi Arabia for the Golden Ball event, and we got to the aeroplane. We were premium economy, I think we'd bumped up to, so we were premium economy. We'd got my dad to the gate because my dad was on crutches. He sat on the chairs in front of the gate, and I said to the ladies, I was going to get a cup of coffee. So I got Kyron and my dad a cup of coffee. I said to the ladies, the air hostesses, would any of you guys like a coffee? I'm just going to go and grab a couple. Do you want any? Just for looking after my dad. I went, oh, you're so kind. Thank you very much. Oh, I'd love a coffee. Thank you. So I come back with a cappuccino for Kyron, cappuccino for dad, cappuccino for 3 of the air hostesses. Lovely. Took us on board, sat in our seats. 2 minutes later, one of the women ran on and said, follow me, come up this way.
Get in.
Grabbed our stuff and they bumped us up to business class for free.
Nice. And do you know what? That's not even, I would consider, that's not even a bribe. That's just doing something nice, because the flight attendants and the check-in staff, they're trying to make, well, obviously they want to do their job as efficiently as possible, but they're trying to make everyone as comfortable as possible and just get people going, get them where they need to be. And in a world where it's so easy to complain about things, when someone does something right, I think we should acknowledge it.
100%.
And, just a little, how much is a cup of coffee? A couple of quid. So, but for them, it's the gesture. For you, it's a tenner, but obviously it was paid back to you. And whether you expected that or not, doesn't matter. They did their job well.
It was just for how well they treated our dad, because obviously he struggles getting around. So how well they treated him, made sure he was comfortable, made sure he was at the front of the queue ready to get onto the plane, took all of his stuff, physically carried his stuff for him so he could focus on being on his crutches. So I thought, yeah, nice little gesture of just having a cup of coffee. Thank you for your help. It's not like I'm going to run out and buy them all a gift set of something and come back. It's just, here's a cup of coffee.
Tiffany ring each, yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's the gesture, isn't it? And they thought, oh, yeah, nice gesture.
Back.
Maybe they can do something back for you, and they, it costs them nothing. Might as well help you out. Yeah.
Yeah. But we really appreciate it. So.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's getting these upgrades is it's a nice experience.
I can't say that worked out well for Kyron for the event, but it was a good try.
That's true, yeah. Well, do you know what he came up against? I'm going to say one of the best players in the tournament, Wu Yiza. And do you know what? That's a good segue. World Open. It was pretty good. So, you just brought him up, Wu Yiza. I suppose he made your life pretty difficult this week. He beat Stuart and he beat Kyron and he beat Mark Allen quite handily as well. Like 3 top players. Like he's coming on. Like he's going to be a threat.
I remember saying this actually on my podcast, and I put it out there just to kind of back my own kind of comments. I genuinely think he will be a bigger player than Zhao Xingtong. I know it's quite hard to say right now considering what Xingtong's done in the game, but for me personally, just how Wu Yiza kind of goes about his game and how he does what he does, it just oozes class. And when I say oozes class, it's kind of it's a weird cocktail of madness, just absolutely brainless but pure talent. Some of the balls that he pots, you think, as a top 16 player, you don't go for those balls. Players are looking, thinking, oh, I don't mind leaving that there because, if you go for that, you're leaving me in. You have to pot it. If you don't pot it, it's frame over. And he goes and pots it and you think, what on earth? You just don't understand how it happens. But when Kyron played him, obviously when Stuart played him, I think Stuart went 4-2 down. Might have even been 4-1 down to come back and force the decider. I remember Stuart leaving him a long red. He butchered a safety and kind of left him with his hand on the table. He knocks in the long red and makes 100 from it. And you think, that's a decider as well. That's a decider to get through to the next round. Typically, it's quite edgy, quite, a little bit nervy. Just slaps it in, makes 100, and you think, what? Who does that? In a decider? Who does that?
you get these players who, yeah, and we all we all like attacking snooker. We all like fun snooker, and I suppose part of that comes with recklessness. And he's still a young lad, and maybe he still has the fearlessness of youth.
Mm.
And that's got to be a factor in some way, because he knows that, well, God willing, he should have a number of years at the top of the game now. He can take a chance here and there because no one's going to think any worse of him if he loses. For example, in a deciding frame, 6-5 against Ronnie O'Sullivan, some would say the greatest of all time. But he pushed Ronnie O'Sullivan to the limit. He beat 3 top players on the way. And even though he didn't win the event, he didn't even get to the final. No one thinks badly of him. Everyone's, yeah, that's actually quite a good showing, actually.
Yeah.
Because they know that with experience, with a bit of craft, that knowing the ins and outs, it's not just knowing how to play it, how to play.
Absolutely.
And the analogy that someone said to me probably about 20 years ago is, it's like knowing the buttons on the PlayStation when you're playing FIFA. Pass, shoot, run, tackle. That's all well and good, but no. You need to understand when, just the timing, everything about it. And I consider snooker to be like that.
That's actually a really good kind of way of thinking about things because, I was speaking to Ryan Day in the Players' Lounge. He'd just come off, he'd just won his match, he'd come off, and Wu was on the other table. And we were talking about him, and he turned around and said, to be honest, he's got no scars yet. And when you think about that perspective, in this sport, unfortunately, you need to take a couple of knocks before you make progress. I remember Kyron saying about practicing with Peter Ebdon. His aim would be to win one frame when he was younger. I just want to win one frame off Peter Ebdon. He'd come back, he'd lose 10-0. Right, I'm going in tomorrow, I want to make it 10-1. He'll go in 10-0, 10-0, 10-0. Make it 10-1. That one is instant progress. From that point, you then build and build and build. And it's similar to what me personally, he needs to go through to kind of understand that, like Mark Allen put a tweet out saying, made one mistake, I've ended up seeing myself 5-0 down. And you think, that is the standard of play. If you make one mistake on this tour these days, in this current day and age of snooker, you are going to lose. More often than not, you are going to lose. That's... me personally, like I said, Wu Yiza, I think, when he's been on the back end of a few defeats, I think a scar, the most recent scar, would have been against Kyron in the Masters. The red that he missed against Kyron in the Masters to that Kyron, that's a big scar, in my opinion, because the way he played, you'd think would be his title.
And I would say that, the fact that he's up against Kyron, Kyron's not a rookie anymore. It's Kyron's been there and done it. Kyron's got his own scars, and he's probably a better player for it. And had Wu Yiza made that mistake against maybe another younger player, maybe he wouldn't have been punished. But when you're up against guys with a bit more experience, more titles under their belt, more matches under their belt, ultimately, that ruthlessness, that know-how, and that's why the veterans are still so dangerous. They know how to win, not just how to play. And on that day, Wu Yiza was unlucky that he came up against someone with a bit more experience, and obviously a good player as well, clearly. But it's those scars are good. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, looking at Mark Allen against Higgins last year, I think it was in the Worlds. It was in the Worlds because it was to play Kyron next round, I believe. I think he's 65 odd behind. He plays the double to clear and make a 67 break to beat Mark Allen in the decider. That's hard to kind of pick yourself up and kind of brush yourself off and go again from, to be honest. That's one of the scars that you kind of think you're making so much progress. You can see the finishing line. It's almost like it's a really good way of a way of thinking about it is like you're almost drowning and you're trying to get to the surface and you're so close to the surface, but then as soon as you get close to it, it's so far away still. Do you know what I mean? That's the only way that you can kind of compare that to that scenario, because the next time you go and play, and this, I don't want to make it about Kyron all the time, but when Kyron played John in the 2024 Worlds, John beat him with a session to spare last year, the previous year. that is a mental factor. You know, that's embarrassing for Kyron to be beaten with a session to spare in the biggest event of what we have on our calendar. Going into a match against John, that is in the back of your mind thinking, well, last year that happened, so, you know, it's a bit ropey now. That scar sits there. You have to learn from that. You have to adapt, you have to adjust, and you have to learn to create more opportunities for yourself and progress from that. So, yeah, going back to Louisa, that's what I think he needs. He needs that kind of understanding the battle scars of, this is what went wrong last time. How can I improve that? Here's how I can improve that. Let's take that step forward. Here's the progress.
So with that, here's a question for you. So Louisa, okay, still relatively young. Got many, you know, he's got a few years of experience under his belt, and he's learning all the time. You can see it. But the fact that he's now getting to the later stages of several tournaments and he's playing the big boys now, and sometimes, yeah, he's winning some of these matches against the big boys. I suppose it's hard to put into words, but it's kind of like a natural progression, because when he's playing some of the lower ranked players, he can get through on talent alone. But now that he's playing the big boys who just have, maybe they're more calm under pressure, maybe they just have more experience, maybe they're just better players, whatever the reason is. When you're playing against tougher opposition, you're going to have to be better. And I guess it's like practicing against, like if you get the chance to practice against, you know, some legends, you're going to learn something. And I guess, yeah, but I think maybe it's the same point I'm making, actually. Maybe it's the same point. But by playing better players, you become better.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like the opposite of a downward spiral. It's an upward trajectory. Yeah, whatever the word is.
I mean, if you play players that, it's hard to play players that are always above you. For example, Judd. Well, number one, you can't play anyone that's above you. You can't go and practice anyone that's above you. So you can't say that playing players that are below you it's not good for your game. I think it's about playing players that play the right shots and that have the right ideas in terms of what they want to do going forward. You know, players that are looking to progress and not be complacent is the best way of saying that, I think. You know, there's players on tour that phone Kyron up for a game that, you know, are off the back of some heavy defeats, low on confidence, and they still wanted to go and play against the world number 2. You know, they want that experience to learn and see how players play the game and bring that into their own game. So I think, like you said, if you put that into someone like Louisa, who can develop more of a safety game, doesn't have to take everything on all the time and almost process the game a little bit better, I think you get a complete player.
I think many people would say that's why Judd is a better player now than he was 10 years ago. Okay, he's always been able to pot balls. All the top players can pot balls. But his safety game and his, I suppose, that bit more restraint in his game has led to success. But I think some would say that maybe he's a little bit too restrained now, and he's actually taken that a little bit too far. Like Mark Allen played a very cautious game for a couple of years, and in some ways still does. But I think you can take that too far. I think the contrast would be two of the more aggressive players, Sean Murphy, Kyron Wilson. I think they're willing to take on maybe that slightly risky pot, you know, the 60-40 pots, whereas some players would, nah, I'm not going for it. Let's just play safe, wait for a better chance. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's the joy of the sport. No one plays the same way. That's why it's fun.
It's, do you know what, that to me, that's more about confidence, in terms of confidence in all sorts. And I don't want to say things that are going to make people go, oh, for God's sake, talking about that again, and so on and so forth. But, you know, confidence in the equipment you're using, confidence in the cue, confidence in the table, confidence in your technique, confidence in your play. Those things come from results. Those things come from practice. And if you're feeling confident, like last year, I remember Judd saying that Kyron's in a purple patch of his career right now, last season, because he had the World Championships, he had the crown on his head, or something along those lines. And I kind of see I understand what he's saying, but then I also think, he's been able to back that up by the confidence he had from being the world champion. It's what we're seeing from Xing Tong right now. He's won 3 events this season. He has that kind of aura and that momentum of being the world champion. People are still making a fuss of you throughout the whole season. And that will actually be quite interesting to see at this year's World Championships, to see if you can break the Crucible curse. Because I remember putting out our video of like smashing the mirror and a black cat walking in front of us and stuff like that, kind of almost teasing the snooker gods, saying, well, look, we're feeling confident. We think it's just a bit gimmicky about this snooker Crucible curse. We're feeling good about the game and we want to go and win the worlds again. Obviously, that didn't go on to happen and, out in the first round. But just that feeling of being unstoppable, that feeling of, I can play against anyone, I'm going to win, I'm going to pick up the trophy at the end of the week. Just that feeling is confidence. And again, that comes with, we just said about shot selection and how you can kind of become quite reserved in your game. You see that with confidence. And that confidence, again, we've got Judd that's looking at different cues. I believe he was using a different cue in Yushan. That just, there's a bit of lack of confidence there, I suppose.
This idea of confidence, it's not to be dismissed, actually, confidence in a player. And I think we've seen, I know it can, we have seen how it can affect even just a single shot choice, but then that single shot choice can impact a frame, therefore a match, and therefore a whole tournament, and maybe a season and a career. And without confidence, it's hard to say that a player is better. So, Kyron Wilson won the World Championship. I remember saying on this podcast that, I think it was after the German Masters, or maybe it was the episode after the review episode, that I think he's a better player now, or at that time, than he was when he won the World Championship. And I stand by that, because, okay, winning the World Championship is the ultimate accolade in the sport, but if you win 4 ranking events in a season, like, you've got to be doing something right. And you could just see the confidence increase. And maybe it is just something as simple as, well, no, I've actually achieved. Maybe it's like a release of pressure. I don't think we, as humans, we can ever really, truly know an exact reason. We can think, we can assume, and we can deduct a reason, but it's, I'm not going to say the pressure's off, because you've done the minimum of what you want to achieve, become world champion, but then you want to win it again and again and again. But knowing that you've done it once, it's like, right, no one can ever take that away from me. And that's got to play a part in building confidence, surely.
Massively. It's, just knowing, it's hard, again, it's a difficult statement, because, you look at Jack, after winning the Northern Irish, everyone would think that he would go on to kind of dominate the sport for a little while, because of, his style of play is phenomenal. As a player, he's an amazing player. We've not seen that from Jack after winning the Northern Ireland Open. But yeah, it's just from personal experience, we can only go off feelings, analytics in terms of match play, stats, statistics, so on and so forth, the data that we have. We look at that and go, well, there's an obvious increase, and it is because you are the world champion. You've got that kind of monkey off your shoulder now. It's, you've kind of got a free arm for the rest of the season, knowing that you've finally achieved something within the sport that there's been players in the past that haven't achieved, that are icons, legends, that didn't get to achieve that. You're a part of history. You're in the history books. You are the king of the sport for that year. What an amazing achievement.
It was the 2000 World Championship. I can't remember it, but I've read about it and I've watched some of the clips since. But WST or whatever it was called at the time, brought out all of the world champions who had won the title at the Crucible for the first championship of the new millennium. And they had Jimmy White there also as the people's champion. And it was Ronnie O'Sullivan. But these are his words, that it was a sympathy appearance. Okay, Jimmy was a great player, never got over the line, never won the World Championship. Some would say the greatest to never do it. But Ronnie O'Sullivan saw that. Of course, at the time, he wasn't part of that group. But his words were something like, I never want to be that. And then the very next year, he goes and wins it. So whether something like that will just increase, like make him put more pressure on himself.
Yeah.
There's so many. But more pressure could equal crash.
Yeah.
It could equal implosion. But if you're that good, then maybe it's more likely to equal success.
It's what you said about it's why the sport is so interesting and so fun to watch. That if you are a snooker watcher, if you are a snooker fan, from someone that just watches snooker, kind of sat on the sofa as a bit of a hobby, to not the purist eye, snooker, you hit a few balls around a table, trying to aim for the pockets, and that's it. You try and score as many points as you possibly can. That is snooker. The things that happen behind snooker that the purists, not the snooker, not the Twitter purists, because there's a lot of drivel on social media.
That's a different purist.
But in terms of people that understand the game and someone like yourself that sees snooker in terms of, there's a lot more that goes on. There's prep, there's stats, there's analytics, there's things off the table, there's cues, tips, ferrule, all these different variables that can create pressure, that can, completely break a player down or can completely rocket a player to the top. There's that is the difference within this game. That's why this game can be so fun and so interesting and so theatre is probably the best way. There's so much that can happen and so many variables that can just create chaos and ecstasy and disappointment and there's all sorts, absolutely all sorts.
And you mentioned a word there, rocket. I love a segue. I love a segue. So you've teed that up perfectly. I mean, a break of 153 is, obviously never happened before. That's pretty
phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a great achievement. That really is.
I think, so we were talking about this, obviously it's never been done in match play. I know a few players that have done it in practice, which just obviously isn't the same. And the feeling that they had making that in practice was, a different feeling, a completely different feeling. So for someone like Ronnie to do that in an actual game, live in front of millions of people watching, for me, it's why that's why he is the GOAT. Just phenomenal. Really, really amazing. I remember we were sat in a hot pot barbecue restaurant in China. I know, amazing. Watching on the phone as he was making the break, and it was just, different class.
Yeah. And he's still capable of these moments, even getting the 2 147s in a match earlier in the season. He can still do it in batches, but he's made 2 finals. He made the final at that event. Was it Jeddah or Riyadh? It was Jeddah, wasn't it?
Jeddah, yeah.
And now he's made the final of the World Open, not a small event.
Yeah.
Is that a precursor for the World Championship? I'm going to say no. I don't think he'll be a main challenger for the World Championship. Despite his brilliance on the day, I can't see it. What are you thinking?
To be honest, I think he's more than capable. I think he's more than capable of winning an 8th. I think, it'd be a very Ronnie O'Sullivan thing to do. Record breaker, for me, is the all-time greatest. Is the best that we've ever seen in snooker. The only thing for me is, again, we just spoke about purists and people that just a bit of an avid watcher. There's a lot of variables for Ronnie this season in terms of, where he's living now. He lives in Dubai. Obviously, with everything that's going on in the world right now, there's lots of variables with that where he has to kind of move to and, where he's going to have to stay. Things like visas and how long he can stay in the UK. after a first round match at the World Championships, he may have to go out to Ireland and kind of stay there for a few days before coming back for his next match, which means, more flight time, more travel time. Where's he going to practice? I'm sure this will all be planned out, but there's a lot more variables than just getting your practice, going back to your bed, sleeping, resting, recovering, back for your game, so on and so forth. The World Championships is a 17-day stint of pressure. It's grueling. It takes its toll on your body. I remember Kyron losing 1.5 stone when he won the Worlds, just from, he was eating the right things, he was exercising, the pressure, the weight he was losing throughout the day of match play. There's just so many variables that can happen that would stop Ronnie winning it. But then again, it's Ronnie O'Sullivan. Like you said, it's just it would just be a very Ronnie O'Sullivan thing to do to go and win the world. But I hope he doesn't. From a selfish point of view, I'm hoping that Kyron, Stuart, or Louis has a good run and can go on to lift the beautiful silver lady. But I wouldn't put it past Ronnie.
But this run in Yushan it's promising for Ronnie fans. It is promising. The fact that he beat some decent players on the way, he beat Shaun Murphy as well. These are the kind of players, if you have an off day, they will take you out. And he was able to get over the line in both. I was a little bit... I thought Shaun would have played... I think Shaun didn't play badly. He just wasn't 100% Shaun. And Ruiza obviously pushed him to the limit. But Ronnie, again, it's that. Maybe it's the experience. It's the amazing talent, the break building ability. It's just something got him over the line there. But in that final, I think the final word has to go to Thepchaiya here.
Absolutely.
It's a great achievement for him, and as I say, it's very popular among snooker fans. You won't find anyone who will begrudge him a victory. Maybe the people he beat along the way would, but this is a good day for snooker when you see Thepchaiya winning a big tournament like that.
I don't think Ronnie fans will be happy with Thepchaiya winning, but I'm sure the rest of the world will be. What else has Thepchaiya won? Did he win the shootout?
He won the shootout, yeah, but this is the first full format tournament that he's won. He made the final of this a few seasons ago, I believe. He lost to Judd.
He beat Kyron in the semi-finals.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What a player. Ruthless. He's got the safety game to kind of back himself up though, but some of the shot selections that he goes for, crazy. I remember he should have beat Judd when Judd ended up winning the Worlds. I think it was the first round match, played a plant through the pack.
Yeah.
Completely ridiculous shot that, again, top 16 player doesn't play, especially in that stage of the game. Bursts the reds open, leaves the reds open everywhere. Judd clears up, Judd's through, Judd wins the Worlds.
Yep.
If Thepchaiya doesn't take that on and is a little bit more patient, because again, very fast player, very quick process. If he took his time and kind of analysed a little bit better in that day, does Judd go on to win the World Championships, or does Thepchaiya win that match? It's one of those.
Sliding door moment, isn't it? It really is.
But again, it's what we said about snooker. It's fascinating, but massive congratulations to Thepchaiya. He's such a lovely, humble person as well, and I think that goes to kind of all of the Thai players, to be honest, how respectable and how polite and how lovely they are. So, really, really happy for him.
Obviously, he's got a lot of praise over the past few days, but even a while ago, I want to say it was Neil Robertson who was listing the players who, in and around the black, once they're in position, they don't miss. When it's just those little stud shots, and he mentioned Ronnie O'Sullivan, who's got more 147s than anyone. I think he said Shaun Murphy, but he also mentioned Thepchaiya as well. He put Thepchaiya in that bracket of player because the close cue ball control, and it's just little stun shots, just a tiny little bit of side, he's got it. There's some reason why he hasn't gone on to win more trophies, but in terms of just that pure break building ability, when you're in position, he's up there. And that's why he's got so many 147s and so many near misses, unfortunately, with 147s. Like, he's doing something right. Yeah, but there's something he's not doing right, clearly, as well.
if you want me to be completely honest, I think from a person that I look at numbers, I look at analytics and what can be improved, where, when, how, so on and so forth. If you want me to be completely honest, someone like Tepe, I think that if a really good mental coach, you know, some would say Chris Henry, but I think Chris Henry goes in too much to detail in numbers and, psychology and brain science and so on and so forth. I think if you had someone that could really kind of mentally solidify Thepchaiya, what player will come out the other side would be unbelievable. I think we've seen it with the pink that he missed against Judd. Nice simple pink. All you need to roll it through for the off one cushion for the black. He ends up missing the pink. Pink goes safe. Luckily for him, goes safe. And he ends up beating Judd. The black that he pots to beat Judd as well is ridiculous. Into the bottom left corner. Just crazy. We were sat there thinking, right, he has to play safe here because that's mad. Pots it and you think, crazy. Like you said, some of the balls that he's missed for 147s over the years, again, just that pressure and the almost seeing the finishing line before it's there, I think is probably a good way of putting it, because just from watching what he's done and history kind of repeating itself. But yeah, you can't take anything away from his performance, and being 4-0 down against Ronnie, coming back to 4 each was unbelievable. I think it was between them, was it 6 entries in the last session?
I'm not sure. It was 7 overall between them.
7 overall, I think. Because before his match, he had... What did he have before?
Yeah, I think it was... Yeah, you might be right there, actually, because Ronnie got 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Tepe got, I think it was 3 and 4 frames or something like that. Yeah.
Just, what a player.
That's scoring.
Yeah.
But, speaking of these high breaks, there has been a bit of chat this week. The discussion has reared its head again about pocket size. It was Elliot Slessor. Now, I tried to get in contact with him. He hasn't got back to me yet, but he clearly wasn't happy with the table. And you could only hear some of the discussion he had with Daniel Wells after the match, but he clearly thought that the table was rolling one way or the other, and you could hear him say the word disgusting. So he clearly was not happy with the table. But that's nothing to do with pocket size. You hear the word, they're playing, or the term, they're playing generously. And it's easy to say that, but everyone's in the same boat. However, I would say it's not always the case. So Neil Robertson is a big proponent of tighter pockets, or they should be uniform, perfectly uniform wherever you go. And I guess it's hard to really achieve true perfection, but he's used the word buckets before. And I guess it's all right for Neil, because Neil technically is one of the greatest players the game has ever seen. And I suppose it's not just the pot going in, it's when it's someone of Neil's quality, and he was the one who's been most outspoken about it. When you have that extra millimetre or two, someone of the top players, they can exploit that, and maybe it makes position on the next shot a bit easier. It just gives that little bit more margin for error in terms of not just the pot, but moving the cue ball around the table. And tighter pockets does reward not just better potting, but it rewards better positional play as well. And for someone like Neil Robertson, okay, of course he wants other people to have less advantage. And I don't blame him one bit. I think it's fair play to him, but it can be an issue, because we saw a load of breaks, and some of those pots throughout the week, let's be like, in other tournaments, they would have missed, they would have rattled the jaw. It's a big talking point.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I actually think it's more the slate drop rather than the pocket sizes. I don't think it's the pocket sizes, because, the tables are templated. They're all the same. I think that the World Snooker Fitters do a fantastic job. I speak to those guys quite a lot at events, and knowing what they go through, the hours they put in, again, they're very much numbers orientated. They're very much based on analytics and feedback. Especially now with comments that have been made kind of over the course of the last season and a half, they're always in monitoring the tables, checking temperatures, humidity, slate drop, so on and so forth. So I think it has something to do with different fitters. Obviously, when we go to China, there are obviously different fitters that do the tables, and the World Snooker guys come out and kind of analyse them and check them. But yeah, I think that's a big part. There's obviously lots more to kind of do with it as well. Pocket size, not only pocket size, but how the tables play. Some of the cushions started pinging. They was quite square at times. Table went quite heavy quite quickly. But again, that's down to humidity in the atmosphere, what the weather's doing outside. If doors are being left open, aircon unit. There's just so much. Again, going back to it, there's so much variables that can change. It's not like going down your local snooker club, putting 50p in the meter and playing for 20 minutes. It's the professional standard. They're trying to make these conditions absolutely pinpoint perfect for players to play on. And it's very hard to achieve with different countries, different atmospheres, weathers, so on and so forth. There's no consistency. There's no one kind of consistency that fits all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, one condition will work in Yushan, but it won't work in Jeddah. It won't work in Telford.
Yeah. The pocket sizes, 100% for China. They've been huge. They've felt like they've played huge. There was a couple of shots where watching Kyron versus Wu Yiza, watching Stewart versus Wu Yiza, there was a couple that Wu had played, which I thought, right, we're back in now. There was a couple against, in particular against Kyron, where they kind of sat over the pocket for 1 to 2 seconds before dropping in. They kind of held and then dropped, and you kind of think, right, I'm back it. Oh, no, I'm not. Right, I'm back it. Oh, no, I'm not. And you think, if that's at the Ali Pali, if that's at the Worlds, that's not in. Just as simple as that, it's just not in. And when you see it, it doesn't make the sport a bit of a mockery, but it's a bit embarrassing because you kind of think, they are generous. We've got the best players in the world. I will put my hand out there and say, right now we have the best standard of snooker, the best standard of players on tour than what we have ever had on tour. 100%. Each match is harder. Each player is improving. The game is going through the roof. Make the conditions as hard as possible for these players to be, at least 95% accurate. Not getting away with 90% shots where, halfway down the rail, the ball's hitting the rail, bouncing out and still managing to find the pocket, Make them hard, make them tight, make the players earn their money by being completely precise and accurate. It's great for a snooker fan because you are seeing more breaks, you are seeing more high breaks. If we tighten pockets and make them, extremely, extremely difficult to pot, you're not going to see as many high breaks. There's a reason why we've seen more maximums this season, more century breaks this season in certain events. There's pros and cons to it, but it does feel a little bit embarrassing sometimes when obviously the pockets play a little bit more generous.
Actually, speaking of maximums, Thepchaiya himself, it's kind of been overshadowed. He made a maximum in that final.
Yeah.
No one's talking about it, which is weird. But
it must be the first time ever there's been a maximum break and not win the high break prize.
It's got, it must be. It must be, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Which is
devastated.
But there is some debate. Is the 153, is it a maximum? I mean, really, it's not. It's a schoolboy achievement. That is, it's not a maximum. It's there are 2 pinks in there. It's not perfect, Ronnie. It's which if we're going to be nitpickers, then we could say that, but we won't be. Let's try and be positive. I have to ask. So you mentioned, okay, this is a good comparison. Actually, do you know what? We'll come on to one thing first, and then we'll move on to the table comparison. So, Yushan, you've been to a number of these events in China. What is the difference in Yushan compared to the other sort of bigger cities? So Shanghai, Xi'an, Wuhan.
Yeah, so Yushan is very localized. Is probably the best way I can put it. It's a very difficult place to go to, and this is going to sound very British and very ignorant of me, and I don't mean it to sound that way. But obviously, going to Yushan, there wasn't anyone that was able to speak English or translate very well. And again, I know it sounds quite stupid, a little bit ignorant in terms of, a Brit going out to China and expecting them to speak English. I don't mean it that way. I mean it in terms of, we're being taken out there for an event. It would be a lot easier if we were able to communicate well to get things sorted. So that's one thing. It's not very westernized whatsoever in terms of other parts of China. We go to Yushan, we go to Xi'an, we go to Shanghai. We've been to Beijing, Nanjing, Wuhan. They're all very westernized. There's, food, more westernized food in terms of, safety, let's say. And again, when you're playing in a professional event, you're traveling to halfway around the world to compete for prize money, ranking points, and trophies and legacy. You get there, you can have a local meal that you don't really know what you're eating, and you can end up kind of giving yourself a bit of a dicky tummy, feeling quite poorly, trying to play and to be as polite as possible, bending over a snooker table when you're not feeling too good isn't ideal. The best thing in Yushan currently for the snooker players is that there's a Starbucks that's just opened. There's only one Starbucks. The other Starbucks is in the airport. It was a 25 to 30 minute walk away from the players' hotel to get to the Starbucks. And I've never seen the snooker players out walking so much in my life.
Everyone like a beeline for Starbucks. Yeah.
Literally, in Starbucks, I remember walking in there. This was last year. This year we stayed in a different hotel. So last year, we walked in there. There was Ben Wollaston, Sean Murphy. As we walked in there, just, all right, lads, what's going on? Not much. Just sat here for the last 3 hours. We're very lucky now to have very, very good Chinese agents that work alongside us for my players. And, if we need food, if we need drinks, if we wanted to get a Starbucks, they're able to kind of order things in for us and show us the right places and kind of translate for us. So, we've lived off egg fried rice and beef noodles for the last 10 days. So I'm very much looking forward to a roast dinner on Sunday.
It's not the worst food in the world, is it?
It's not the worst, but do you know what? It's so rich, though, that obviously we're quite bland eaters in the UK. Spices and herbs and stuff just aren't very existent in most places. But you go there, everything's quite spicy, very rich, oily, delicious. But again, like I said, it's not too safe when you're bending over a snooker table. And another thing, I've taken over the world of ping pong.
Go on.
In the Players Hotel, again, this is just going back to Yushan, and there's not much going on. There was a ping pong table in the Players Hotel, so there was players sitting in the cafe, the downstairs cafe of the hotel, waiting to take turns on the ping pong table, and I ended up taking on, who was it? Ben Mertens' dad, Ben Mertens' two sponsors, Julian Leclerc, Kyron, and the two Chinese agents that we work with. Beat them all twice at ping pong. Winner stays on.
Julian Leclerc at ping pong.
Yeah. He hits the ping pong ball like he hits the snooker ball.
Yeah. He's an enigma, that guy. Yeah. He looks like he's too tall. God, I wouldn't say it to his face though. God.
He's quite a nimble man.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're the ping pong king. The king pong? No, it doesn't work, does it? You know what I'm trying to do.
Probably, but I think if I went up against someone like Chris Henry, I think he's quite good. He's quite useful at ping pong. So I'll keep my crown. Yeah, I'll keep my crown, and that'll be it. I'll retire now.
Yeah. Retire undefeated. Yeah. Yeah,
But Yushan is not the most ideal place for Westerners currently. But I think they're trying to make more changes. So we live. To be fair, just another one. You can ask any player this. Most of them live off either KFC or Pizza Hut when we're in Yushan. So just going back to being a A-list sport, and trying to prep properly, living off professional sportsmen living off KFC and Pizza Hut. It's so
not ideal. Yeah. Now, a few players have said to me that, well, different opinions. One seasoned pro said that, he'd rather travel to Yushan and have the opportunity to play rather than not have the opportunity. Like, he's not ungrateful. The fact that there's a big event in China, and he said, if I qualify, I'm going. And but this same player also said that the hotel was, and I quote, not great. And so, and I guess it is difficult. Maybe things are different, but I think the best story I heard was Alan Taylor. He got a free haircut in the town. And he said it's going to be, the barber will be the talk of the town, because for one of the few times in his professional career, he'll have blonde hair on the floor. And so this guy was so happy. He's like, oh, I've got blonde hair on my floor. It's like, I never get blonde hair here. And I just thought, wow. But again, he said all of this was done through Google Translate. Alan Taylor speaks, I guess, like next to no Mandarin, and this guy, the barber, could not speak English. So everything was Google Translate. And I suppose it's that in Beijing, Shanghai, maybe it's a little bit more likely to, the communication will be easier. But I thought it was a lovely story. And I mean, I've got blonde hair.
It'd be hard enough. It's hard enough understanding Alan Taylor being Scouse as it is, let alone talking Mandarin and being Scouse. That's on another level. Do you know what? That story though, do you know why I can 100% believe it? I remember year before, when me and Kyron went, they changed the dates around, so it was a little bit colder in Yushan compared to usual. We went during their winter time, and typically when you go to China, it's kind of trouser and t-shirt weather. Bring like a light, sort of like when you're on holiday, bring a light jacket for the evening times. It gets a little bit chilly, a little bit like that. So we obviously dressed for that sort of weather, not realising that it was freezing cold out there, nearly snowing. We went out to buy a couple of jumpers. So we just walking around these streets, looking for like a little clothes shop somewhere, and we found this men's clothing store. But halfway down the road, this car had been driving up, slammed his brakes on, just got past us, slammed his brakes on, and started reversing slowly down the road, just staring at us. Not because it was Kyron, but just because we were Westerners. They weren't used to seeing Westerners, and they just stare. I actually put on my Instagram story. I stood at a roundabout drinking a cup of coffee. It was a local cup of coffee, not a Starbucks. And I was filming. I just put my phone on record, filming outwards towards this roundabout as cars were coming around and mopeds and stuff. And everyone that drove past just slowed right down. I'm talking 2 or 3 miles an hour, and was just staring out the window, fully staring at me, just because I'm a Westerner. Obviously, they didn't know. Oh, you're Taylor Wilson from TW Sports Management. They looked at me and went, "Oh my God, you're a Westerner. I've never seen a Westerner before." So I can fully believe that from Alan Taylor, seeing blonde hair or just seeing a Westerner, that'd have made that man's day.
Oh yeah, I saw some of the pictures of it, and he's just giving away a free haircut. But oh my God, the smile on this guy's face was, maybe he's a big snooker fan as well. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe he is. But am I right in thinking, I'm not sure about this, did I see some pictures of you in Chengdu as well?
Yes, yeah. So we were in Chengdu.
Much bigger city, of course. Yeah,
and do you know what? Amazing city. It's my now new favourite city in the whole of China. It's amazing. Really, really pretty. And do you know what? So clean. You walk along the street, not a single piece of litter on the floor. everyone's so respectful, everyone's so happy, and even just, I sometimes do it when I'm walking around in Bristol. I just, if I'm in a good mood, I'll turn around and go, morning, just to random people. Morning, you okay? Morning.
It's
There.
mental illness, isn't it? It's just, oh, so you're weirdo, so I'm saying good morning. It's no, but it's true. I've never been to Chengdu, but a lot of these, I'm going to say China and Hong Kong and Taiwan as well, won't get political on that, but it's, oh my God, the respect that people show, even just on the subway, the metro, everything's quiet. There's no annoying kids playing loud music. They're not shouting at each other. There's no drunk people just puking on the train. And everything's clean. It's
amazing.
It's almost like people take pride in their community. What a weird concept, but it's true. And
saying, why do snooker players like going to China? They're so spoiled. It's not about being spoiled. It's because when you're there, there was a Starbucks across the road from the hotel in Chengdu, which was a big bonus. I actually left my phone on the table in Starbucks to go to the toilet. Completely forgot about it. Left it on the table. Got to the toilet. Went to wash my hands. Panicked because I didn't have my phone. Really rushed and to get out. Went to the table and it was still sat there. If you did that in the UK, it would be gone within seconds.
Oh, in London,
I'd be on eBay.
Literally 10 seconds, it's gone.
Yeah, it'd be on eBay.
Someone will have it. Yeah.
But it's just respectful, nice, clean, happy people, nice environment. The weather obviously helps as well. It's warm. Just very. For me, it's just amazing. I love being in China now. Me and Karen didn't used to like going to China because it was other side of the world. Miss your family. You didn't know anyone there. It was just kind of practice, back to your room, watch a movie in the hotel, play, so on and so forth. Now we get to experience things. We've been to temples, we've been to see the most amazing sights, we've been to different buildings that have different historical meanings, and it was just amazing. We actually went to Chengdu, and it's the first time I've seen a school. We flew from we got the bullet train from Chengdu to, I can't remember what the town was called. I can't really pronounce it, to be honest, but it was a local town. It was about 2 hours away on the train. And we went to a school just to see how the setup was, and we actually went to donate a Hable table and some cues for the students to play on. And just everything about that whole experience was just a complete eye-opener in terms of how respectful things were. Every student sat out on a football pitch. There were stools in certain lines, very regimented. The students were polite, happy, listened to what everyone was saying, even if they couldn't understand what Kyron was saying. And they just celebrated us being there just because we were there to be respectful to them, and they shown the same respect to us. But it was just so eye-opening. And as soon as there was one student who, at the end, Kyron went through to do a video in amongst the whole kind of rows of students, and one student asked him for an autograph. As soon as Kyron signed the book, I'd say 100 to 150 students come running in, swarming him to go and trying to pass over it was an exercise book. They were trying to pass over their exercise book to get him to sign it. And it was just such a lovely, refreshing, nice kind of feeling to feel so respected in an area that hasn't got the same opportunities as most other places. It was just such a nice, eye-opening feeling. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's the key word, I guess. It's respect. It's it's not pandering. It's not sycophancy. It's just no. The default is you show some respect, and if someone gives you a reason not to, then you change. But it's nice to see stories like this, though, because again, with such a negative, war-filled world at the moment, to see a bit of happiness among kids, it's like, oh, maybe there is hope in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, So no, fair play. And so you donated a table and
a Hable table and some cues. So I think there's about 10 cues in total, because a part of a lot of schools in China, a part of their curriculum is snooker. So yeah, you have we obviously have English, maths, PE, they would have Mandarin, maths, snooker.
Snooker, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh,
So they part of their
go
career.
to that school.
It's
You'd want to go to school. School's
yeah.
boring. No, school's not boring there. Actually, it's
just everything about the culture there and how the people are. It's so nice, so nice.
But exhibitions like this, so it was an exhibition, right?
No. And
Just,
after it was with the people that we work with. They do a lot of work with the CBSA, which is the equivalent of like WST, but obviously in China. And they invited us. They just said, if you're here, do you want to come along and do this with us? I said yes. We were in China anyway, waiting for our flight to get home. Got to see a different city, got to see a different place. And yeah, what was also really amazing, I get a little bit geeky about this sort of thing because I like exploring culture a little bit more and trying different things. And on the train, everyone else was kind of all the local people were sleeping with the shutters down. So I actually had my shutter up, and I was just staring for 3 hours, just staring out the window, and just going from city life in terms of just massive skyscraper building after skyscraper building, and just so congested everywhere. Sitting on this train and just seeing mountains and greenery. It was just amazing. Just some of the views that you get to see was just so special. Things that you won't forget.
kind of things that we don't get back home usually.
I'm looking out my window now and it's raining and bleak, and it's someone's house across the road. So it's not the same as Chinese mountains.
It's like the episode of The Sopranos where they go over to Naples. And Paulie, maybe the worst character of all the time in New Jersey. I'm Italian. But as soon as he actually gets to Italy, I'm from America. And he doesn't fit in. He doesn't speak the language. He doesn't understand the culture. He doesn't like the food. He's like, mate, okay, you're Italian in name only at this point. But you see how miserable and how uncomfortable he is there. But as soon as you get back to the concrete jungle of Trenton, New Jersey, you can see him with a content smile, I guess, looking out the window, and he's happy. And I just thought, wow, like the contrast between the peaceful suburbs of Naples and the concrete jungle was. We know where he feels at home. And, but no, that contrast is true. And do you know what? Sometimes it's nice just to, even if you're just listening to a bit of music, not even a podcast, just chill out and listen to a bit of music, just look out the window. You can't do that on a plane. Yeah. And if you're on a bus, on a train, or even if you're a passenger in a car, sometimes the views are just, no matter where you are, sometimes the views are just better. Especially if you're not in a city. It's nice. You might as well make the most of it, even if it's just a couple of hours. It's
100%.
Yeah, why not? But that's the last time the tour's going to be in China this season. How many is it now? I think it's 15 out of 16. 15 winners out of 16 ranking events.
Yeah.
So the only person to win more than one ranking event anyway is Xiao Tong. Who are the other multiple winners? So Kyron has won the Shanghai Masters and the Masters.
Selby.
Mark Selby, UK, big one. Champion of Champions and Championship League non-ranked, yes. And I'm pretty sure they're the only players who have won more than one event, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
We discussed this very briefly before we recorded. If there were a player of the season right now, it's really hard to call. And I know you may... I'm going to ask you this. And maybe it's difficult for you to be 100% objective with this, but the fact that Kyron's wins have not been ranking events, do you think that takes away from the reputation they have? I think it kind of does. Not that it should, but I think people think less of it. And the fact that the Shanghai event is so early in the season, it's still a big event.
Yeah.
But because it's, 6, 7, 8 months ago now, it's
people
not
forget.
as fresh in the mind.
Yeah. People forget. And like you said, because they're not classed as ranking events, don't get me wrong, they're two humongous events. I mean, one of them's the second biggest event we've got on our calendar. You know, it's an amazing achievement. It's up there with winning the World Championships in terms of winning the Masters. Same as Mark would say about winning the UK Championships. It's one of the biggest privileges in our sport that you can possibly win. It's almost a bit like winning for football the World Cup, Champions League, Premier League. That's the way I kind of see it in my eyes. Last season won the World Cup. This season has won the Champions League. What an amazing feeling. Unfortunately, the way people see it is that non-ranking, no points, don't care. But it's hard to get your head around because, if you win whoever wins the Tour Championships next week, for example, that's a huge achievement because it's a ranking event. But the same amount of players are going to be in the Tour Champs than what they were in Shanghai. So what is the difference between those two? Shanghai's Invitational, it's the top 16 players. Same for the Tour Champs based off the 1 year list. For me, people are quick to forget what people have done over the season. So yeah, I'll give Kyron that, and winning the Masters, amazing, absolutely amazing. The same for Mark. Champions of Champions is a humongous event. Best of sevens to start the kind of sessions off need changing, in my opinion, to make it a bigger event and having 2 sessions in a day. But Champions, you've beat everyone else that has won a trophy throughout the season to earn their spot within that. They are the best of the best to playing in that event. So yeah, argument for Mark, argument for Kyron. Xingtong, same again, is one in Saudi. The invitational event of 16 players that are the best. 16 players, or no, it's 10, isn't it? The jet lag's kicking in. However many players it is, the best of the best. Argument for all 3, to be honest, but I think that the World Championships will be a clear decisive factor in.
Yeah. If one of those 3 wins it, then I think they will earn that accolade. For Mark to win the UK and the World Championship in the same season, and Champion of Champions, fair enough. But if Kyron, to win the Masters and the World Championship, again, fair enough.
Yeah.
And they would be the front runners for me at the moment. And I mentioned this. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you? So, for example, who can I pick here? If Sean Murphy won the World Champs, would you turn around and say that he's player of the season?
No, I think there is a cut-off, and I wouldn't. He's been good. He has been good. He's won a trophy. He's made another 2 finals, I believe. Mm-hmm. So he's shown one trophy, 2 finals, not bad. I think he's in the top 4 on the 1 year list, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So in the ranking events, he's done all right. But 1 trophy, he'll be disappointed with that, and especially the way I saw you there. In Berlin. Mm. The way he performed in that final, I think he'll be disappointed.
Bit burnout, yeah.
Yeah, so he could have done better, and he was up against Mark Williams in one of the Chinese events. Was it the Yushan Grand Prix, I think?
Yushan Grand Prix, yeah.
And again, he didn't really get close. And he can do it, but for some reason it just didn't happen on those days. And if he'd taken 2 out of 3, I think he'd be happy, but 1 out of 3, I think he'd be disappointed. But again, if he was on 2 tournament wins and then he goes on to win the World Championship, then I would say he would be in that discussion. Yeah, whether he'd win it, I'm not sure. But
what about someone like Ronnie? Obviously, someone that hasn't won an event this season. Yeah, someone that hasn't won an event this season. Would you give it to someone that hasn't won an event this season?
I wouldn't, no. It's so John Higgins has been really consistent. A lot of quarters, a lot of semis, a few finals. He's had a great season. No trophies, but good. He had a few quid for himself as well, but it's hard to say that he's player of the season. That's why last year the 2 standout players were Kyron and Judd last season. And the fact that Judd won the Saudi Arabia event, I think probably maybe looks a bit better in terms of what the narratives that some people might want to push. So, no, but he won the Saudi Arabia event. It's the 4th major, don't you know? And But, however, I think there is a counter argument to be made, and it's actually from Judd himself. Judd said that winning 5 tournaments in a season is a better achievement than winning the World Championship. And I thought it was really convenient that he said that, because that's how his career had unfolded. But then he wins two big tournaments, the Saudi Arabia tournament and the UK Championship. Fine, great achievements. But then you've got someone who has won 4 ranking events and made the final of the Masters, but doesn't win. But by Judd's rationale, that player has had a better season. It was a few years ago Judd said that, but I thought it was very convenient that it fit how his career had unfolded. No one will take away Judd's talent, his achievements, his success, and his legacy at this point. But it was, interesting that you think that way. But then if you know what I mean? I don't want to say he's a hypocrite, because I'm absolutely not saying that. But maybe there's a little bit of bias in the way he thought.
Yeah, if you asked him the same question at the end of his career, if he had won 5 ranking events and no world title, would he be happy? Or if he won 1 world title and no ranking events, would he be happy? I guarantee it would have been the World Championships that he'd pick any day of the week. If it was 5 Masters and 1 World Championships, I think he'd still take the 1 World Championships over 5 Masters.
Yeah, I think so, because that's the pinnacle of the event, of the sport. And Mark Allen has said it. I'll paraphrase for him. He would consider his career a failure if he never becomes world champion. And given that he's won more or less everything else in the sport, that's got to be his focus now. But that's what he wants. And Stuart Bingham, I remember listening to you, Rob Francis and Stuart Bingham. Rob asked him, would you rather take a UK and complete the Triple Crown or win a second world title? He's like, well, obviously a second Crucible Crown. It's like, that's what you're judged on. And yeah, I just... consistency is not to be dismissed.
Oh, 100%.
It's not to be dismissed. Like, it's hard. Like, there's the fact that there are 16 tournaments, 15 winners. Like, that's... Or is it 16 and 17 now? I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of different winners. So that shows how tough it is to win these tournaments. And if you can win multiple tournaments, as have Kyron, Zhao Zintong and Mark Selby, then I tip my hat. My hat.
100%. And do you know what? Just on the back of that, Kyron's most successful season that he's ever had was the 2024 season. I think the best he'd done was a quarterfinals all season. Goes and wins the Worlds. That's his most successful season he's ever had. And that will always be the most successful season he's ever had. Unless he goes to win the Worlds again, of course. You know, that like you said, it's the pinnacle of your career. You can win 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 events throughout the season. But if you were to choose, like I just said, if you were to choose in a season, win 10 events or win 1 Worlds, what would it be? It's always going to be the Worlds. Always.
No, it is. Ronnie O'Sullivan said it's the daddy of the events. All the other ones, it's great. Win trophies is fantastic, but there's one which really does. And even some of the other, like the UK, the Masters, Champion of Champions, like fantastic. But that Crucible, that's what everyone wants. That's why you play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't play so you can win in Brentford. You play so you can win in Sheffield. And there will be a lot more snooker in Sheffield over the years. That's another lovely segue, that is, isn't it?
Yes. Do you know what? You're really good at this.
I'm really good at this, and I'll give you. This is a little bit from my personal life. I did a master's a few years ago, and my thesis was on the Iliad. But it's, do we learn more about the characters of the Iliad? Most of them are soldiers. Do we learn more about them when they're not fighting, when they're avoiding combat? And one of the compliments I got for my thesis, I'm really proud of this, was that it flowed quite well. And it was segue after segue, and I speak about Hector, and then I speak about Paris, and then Ajax and Achilles. It flowed. And ever since then, I've been kind of, segues are good. I don't know, I like it. Yeah.
It's the smoothest podcast I've ever done.
Smooth like butter, yeah. Yeah. Actually, do you know what? I might as well share this story as well. I was on a landing plane. It was in the US, and I'm going to say this wasn't a great landing. It was actually quite bumpy. But the pilot, instead of saying, welcome to blah, 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 he was like, smooth like butter. I was like, it really wasn't, mate. It really wasn't. Like, you're deluded. It was actually quite shaky.
The plane shaking. It was just him steering. How he was steering.
No, it wasn't a great landing at all. But he had the arrogance to say smooth like butter. It's like, come on, mate. Get over yourself. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. So
No, I was just saying it's just amazing news. Sheffield is home in terms of snooker, and there's no place like home. What the artwork that has been displayed, we were quite lucky to find out a day before everybody else about the news of Sheffield, just in case we wanted to put out anything on social media ready for the launch. But yeah, we're very, very lucky and very happy that it's staying in Sheffield. The artwork that they've displayed looks brilliant. I think, it's going up to 1,500 people, I think.
Yeah, an extra 500 seats, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think it will be strange being obviously circular. It'll be a very different atmosphere. But one of the biggest tests about the World Championships is how tight the crucible is. I remember Kyron being pinned to a cushion, bottom right cushion, playing a black into the bottom left pocket. And as his cueing is that far back that his cue's hitting the board of where people are sitting. It's a test of your cueing. It's a test of character. It's a test of pressure. It's a test of if you've got what you need to be made of to win the World Championships. That's why the Crucible is so special. And like I said, I put out a tweet yesterday saying great news. There's genuinely no place on the snooker calendar that can bring you such highs and such absolute lows. It's unbelievable. I remember getting out last year after Kyron had lost, and I had a few tears in terms of the kind of reign of being world champion was over, and the year before, running onto the stage floor, giving him a hug, and his kids running out, and just that feeling and how amazing that 5 minutes was of being in there, feeling the confetti hit you on the head and looking up at the stars, the lights that light stars, and just hearing it was one of those that you can hear the audience, but you can hear it through like the vibration through your feet in the floor, and how everything was just buzzing. It was just, that's the only way you can describe it. It was a buzz. And so then the next year to be out first round and that whole buzz just kind of being flatlined was, I just don't think there's a place like it on the snooker tour that can do that to you. And that's coming from a spectator that is fortunate enough to be around the sport. The players must have that times 1,000.
I think it is, at this point, it's the weight of history as well. It's knowing that so many of the greats have achieved their goals there as well. And so many of the greats have failed as well.
Yeah.
And it really is a test. Like, you get someone like Neil Robertson, you often hear it that he can't win a second one because it's at the Crucible and it's too tight. He needs space, the way he lines up shots, things like that. And that moment you mentioned where Kyron hitting the wall with his cue because he's so far back, it is cramped, and it's got to be a sense of claustrophobia, and that's why the one table setup is so magnificent. It just looks like a massive arena, but when you actually take half of that space, do you know what? It's not so. The fact that you're sat next to your opponent, it could be one of your best mates, or it could be someone you really, really can't stand. All these factors come into play, and I hope they keep that dimension in terms of physical dimension. They don't expand it I suppose they can't expand it too much if they want to fit an extra 500 seats in, but I hope they keep that claustrophobic feel, because it is special. And even watching it from the stands, it's a great arena. It's wonderful. It's
very intimate as well. That's probably a good way of putting it. It's an intimate setting. When you're sat, I can't remember the fan's name. Is it Front Row Brian? Is that his name on Twitter or something like that? Always sat in a Coventry City shirt, And I remember Mark Williams having a few minstrels off him or Maltesers one year, just back there, Maltesers out of his bag. But that's how close you are to the crowd, and that
Yeah.
all adds to the atmosphere. Like I said, with John and Mark, their decider, where John doubles the red, that in that arena, that is so big. It's such a big shot anyway, but it's even bigger being there in that atmosphere, cramped, horrible, tight. And you see it after when he lifts his hands up in the air and goes,
Yeah.
that's
That
pure pressure.
that release. Yeah.
There's just no place like it. There really isn't.
And I suppose John knows more than pretty much anyone. He's been in 8 World Finals, so he's got a fantastic record there. He can handle it, and even at this stage, he's still a good player. Obviously, he's still making finals. He had a great match against Kyron and Ali Pali. He made another final. What was the other final he made? Lost to Zhao Tong, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. At some point, I can't remember now.
Players Champs, was it?
I think it was the Players' Championship. Yeah. Because in the Grand Prix, it was Shanganda, yeah. But yeah, so he's still, in terms of talent, he's still clearly got it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Crucible, he's been there, he's done it. 8 finals, 4 titles, like that's got to be a factor. And I'm normally a glass half full kind of person. I have one fear with this. One fear. And sitting in Alexandra Palace, okay, there's 2,000 seats in there, but those seats are not comfortable. Like, I'm 6'1", I'm not massively tall. Rob Francis, he's 6'3", 6'4". He says they're comfortable. I disagree. And he's a couple of inches taller than me, but they're not comfortable seats. The Crucible, the Tempodrome, these seats are comfortable. You can sit there for hours. And thanks to Kyron and Barry last year, we had to sit there until past midnight. God, they couldn't have made it a quick one, could they? And it was a revac as well. 10-9. Great match. Probably one of the matches of the season easily. But it was a pleasure to sit there in those seats. And I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. 10-9. Yeah, that final session went on for hours. But I just sat there just watching good snooker from both players. And it was a great match. I didn't even notice the seat. In Ali Pali, I would have been squirming. And in the Crucible, it's not a problem. There's comfortable seats at the theatre. I hope they don't just squeeze those seats in a few inches.
Yeah.
I think they might have to. It depends on how the building goes, but I just hope they don't go a bit too stingy on space.
No, the only way that I thought, because obviously this has been going on for a couple of years now about it moving and whatever, but I actually thought the only way they could go around it is kind of going down, lowering the floor, kind of digging downwards to make the table lower.
Yeah, never thought of that.
Yeah, that's the only way I could think, because they can't go up. There's no more space. There's only so far you can be away from the table in terms of kind of, as you obviously go higher, it gets wider. The lower, it kind of becomes a little bit more narrow, I suppose. But yeah, that's the only way I could have thought they would do anything in terms of increasing the seats. I think that as long as World Snooker don't get greedy and do what they do for the Masters in terms of like the sofas, trying to squeeze in sofas and like corporate kind of stuff, keep it purely for fans. Don't monetize it and make it, let's bring in corporate sponsors and so on and so forth. Make it purely for the fans. Make it a spectacle.
Because that's what it's about. It's about the players, but without the fans coming to see it. It's not. It means it's just like lifting a trophy in an empty arena. It's not the same, is it? It's just you want to hear that applause, and if you've got people there who I know that they don't really care about snooker, but their company's bought them a box. It's that emotion isn't there, that buzz isn't there, and that's the word you used. That buzz, like the people there, they want to see this.
Yeah,
and that's what makes the Crucible special. So I'm very optimistic. I'm glad it's staying in Sheffield. I think it's great. In terms of the history of the sport, I think it's a fantastic development, a milestone announcement. I think Nick Metcalf called it, and if they can just get those seats right, I think it could be excellent.
100%. speaking to Rob about there's a few because when I go to the World Championships, it's just business and that's it. It's just we're here for business. That's it. Nothing else, nothing less. End result is going to be take the trophy home. That's it. So I've always been very dialed in and very kind of focused on the snooker, just the snooker. Speaking to Rob, I hear about these social events that people are going to these pubs that are around, and there's certain pubs people are going to watch the snooker. And just going back to Kyron winning the Worlds, I remember walking out of the front door, and there was like a minibus full of Kyron's friends from Kettering that had travelled up to watch. Didn't have tickets to come in and watch, but they travelled up and they sat in the front square. I can't remember what it's called. My brain's so foggy today. But they had a big England flag football style banner that said "Up the Poppies" across it, and they had all their different logos and stuff, and there was Kyron's face on there as well. And I just thought that is so special. And people, like random people, and this is why Sheffield was so special for snooker. Random people walking past and just having that banter between our friends and random people about them wanting Jack to win or so on and so forth. I just think everything about the World Championships is just special. It's the only way that you can actually kind of explain that feeling. Just special. Like I said, go to the pub and you just speak to people. Oh, did you watch that match? Yeah, it was brilliant. Oh, having a few beers with random people that you've never met before. But you just get on with them like a house on fire that quickly because you're there watching the snooker. It's just amazing. It really, really is.
One of the people I spoke to last year, Simon Grocott, big snooker fan. He said, "This is my Ibiza." And I thought that's a fantastic way to say it. Every year, it's like, and he lives kind of locally, but he said, "Yeah, I come here. Like, this is fantastic." And just even if it is the square outside the Crucible, going over to the Graduate after the final evening session, and just having a few beers, and just chatting with fellow snooker fans, and you'll see all sorts of people in there. You see fans, commentators. Sometimes you see the odd player, but everyone there's no snobbery. No one thinks they're too good to talk to with other people. The feeling of community.
Yeah, culture.
It's really special. It's a wonderful culture. Yeah, great word for this situation. Yeah, but that culture has been built up because people respect what happens there, and that if you're there, you like snooker. It's not like going to. You see at the World Cup final, and you see people recording it on their iPads. It's like, mate, you're at the World Cup final.
In the moment,
enjoy the experience. Like, this happens once every 4 years, and most people are lucky to go to one, if anything.
Yeah.
But you're watching it through an iPad for a video that you're never going to watch again. Nah. Sit there, you watch this spectacle, and I think the fact that it's in the Crucible and it will continue to be there, I think it's a wonderful development, and I'm so happy that essentially the sport hasn't sold out. I think in some ways the sport could sell out a little bit more, and take a few extra dollars and pounds from here and there, but that event is special. That event is special because of where it is and what it represents. So I'm really happy about this news. Yeah,
me too.
I think most people are. So
I know all the players are as well. There's obviously talks about moving away and being more prize money, but yeah, the players are very excited. And I suppose having more seats will bring in more prize money as well. And the fact that the announcement is kind of, we don't see snooker that much on Sky Sports and stuff like that, but it's across Sky Sports. It's been government news. We've had statements from Keir Starmer. It's massive news. So it's really special, really exciting, and I'm interested to see where it's going to take place for the 1 year or maybe 2 years whilst the Crucible goes under development.
So it's great to have stability with the future of the World Championship. But here's a question for you. So you are involved with 3 pro players at the moment. Now, Kyron has got essentially a bye to the Crucible because of his ranking. Stuart will have to qualify, I think.
Yeah. If he beat Wu Yiza, he would have. Sorry, he had to beat Wu Yiza, and then it would have been Kyron. If he'd have beat Kyron, it'd have been back in the 16.
Okay. So he has to go through
2
Judgment
matches.
Day. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And Louis will have to qualify. So here's a question for you. So Kyron went all the way 2 years ago. In terms of preparation, this might sound like a basic question, but I'm interested to know how different people prepare for this. If you start on the Saturday, is it? Yeah, it's the Saturday.
Yeah.
And you go all the way to the Monday, 2 weeks, so 17 days. What do you do for accommodation? So do you book for the entire 17 days? Because you kind of have to, because if you only book for like 4 days, and so I'm going to go out. So, but then you book for 17 days, things don't go your way, then you're paying for 2 weeks of a hotel that you're not using.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Do you know what? Being a management business, I put my thinking cap on and I made contact with a specific hotel that have now actually named, after Kyron's success in 24, they've named 2 of their suites after myself and Kyron. So you can go into this hotel and book the Taylor Wilson suite and the Kyron Wilson suite, which is amazing. It's so special. They give us a room rate. So we pay a specific rate every single night, whether it be a Monday, a Wednesday, a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday. And they do the same for family and friends. So they know that when the Crucible's on, all of our family and friends come up. They do a specific rate for them, for us, bed and breakfast included, in their nicest rooms that they've got in the hotel. Even talks of this year, I spoke to all 3 lads and said, look, I've got the opportunity to put a snooker table in the hotel this year, so you can have your own practice facilities. Would you be up for it? So there's that potential there as well. This hotel is brilliant, amazing. It's the Kenwood Hall in Sheffield, just on the outskirts of the city. And they're basically like a second family to us when the World Championships come around. They treat us so well. Even to the point where in the past, we have gone, left our stuff in the room, packed an overnight bag to come back to Kettering. They've not charged us for the night that our stuff has stayed in the room. Come back to Kettering, stayed there for 2 or 3 nights, gone back to Sheffield, and our room's been cleaned, everything's perfect, all of our stuff's still in there, no one's been in there apart from the cleaner. So yeah, they sort us out massively, take care of us, look after us, even to the point where we walked in last year and there was a big banner going across the whole hotel celebrating Kyron's success the year before. They've got a little monument of a bottle of champagne that Kyron signed after winning the Worlds. They've got that in their display cabinet. It's all lit up and looks nice and so on and so forth. So yeah, they also honour that for Stuart and Louis as well. So Stuart and Louis, we have a certain section of the whole hotel where that will be Team TW base. And we have, like I said, we'll have the Taylor Wilson suite, the Kyron Wilson suite, which myself and Kyron will stay in. And then there's 2 other suites next to that, which Louis and Stuart will stay in. Opposite that will be the room for the snooker table if they want it. So
having a snooker table in the hotel to practice on, surely that wouldn't happen.
I don't know. It just depends. You can organise it.
Yeah, depends who. Yeah. No, but to have that peace of mind, it's just one less thing to worry about, isn't it? It's just, and I guess that's kind of, I don't say it's your job, but it's.
No, it is.
As manager, it's your job is to make their career as easy as possible.
Yeah.
If they don't have to worry about booking flights, hotels, but I don't want to see. It's just you focus on the practice, the game, the sport.
Yeah.
So.
But as good as you are at snooker, as anyone that's listening, as good as you are at snooker, if you have, and I always use this as an example, I don't know why I use it as an example, but it's just a common thing and everyone relates to it instantly. But I always say, I used to play pool on a Wednesday night for a local pub that's here in Kettering. Myself and Kyron played for this team. And if me and my girlfriend had an argument and I went to play pool, I may as well not even bother. And that's at a game of pool. I was just useless. There was too much going on in my mind, and I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm annoyed, and I couldn't pot a ball. Try and do that and take that same emotion, that same mindset to a game of snooker at club level that's 10 times harder than pool. It's going to be even more difficult. Take that again one step further to an elite level where you're playing for hundreds of thousands of pounds, the biggest trophy on offer, in front of millions of people worldwide. Just having that headache and having that nonsense, let's say, because it's external, it's something that you can't really control. Having that baggage taken into the table, you're a write-off. You're a complete write-off. And again, going back to the confidence thing that we spoke about earlier, if you don't trust your equipment, don't trust your cue, those variables, if you don't have that trust, the game becomes harder. The whole aspect of thinking too much, you've got too much going through your mind. If there was an off button for your brain that you could go in and go, tap, play snooker, you'd be the best snooker player on earth. But unfortunately, we don't have that. So someone like myself will try to make that process as easy as possible, seeing things from like a bird's eye view, taking away the variables of, right, well, after this frame, we go back to the hotel. I've got a Nando's on order so that when we arrive at the hotel, we've only got an hour before we head back. The Nando's is there. You go and shower. I'll get things sorted. Come back down. We'll eat. Go and chill for 25 minutes. Head back to the venue. That's all neat. It's all tidy. There's now no thinking, right, I've got to rush back, get my food, shower, chill, get ready, go back to the venue. You know, taxi's booked. Bam, bam, bam. Sorted. That whole process becomes a hell of a lot easier for that player to turn around and go, right, eyes on the prize.
I think this is a pretty good... I love comparisons. And I was speaking to somebody just yesterday, and she is only about a week away from delivering a second baby. But her mother is coming over to visit. So she's from overseas, but she lives in the UK now. But her mother is coming over to visit and help out for a month. And she said to me that it's so nice to have that support, someone she trusts, and it's just the little things. It's not like the grandmother is going to do everything, but the grandmother can just watch the baby for 15, 20 minutes while she just has a shower, washes her hair, things like that, so she feels like a human again. You know, she just needs to take a nap for 30 minutes because she's exhausted after childbirth. It just takes the stress away. It's like, oh, no, but I can't. Oh, who's going to watch the baby if I need to go and cook something? It's just, no, don't worry. I'll do the cooking for you this time, or I'll watch the baby while you cook. It's just having that extra pair of hands and an extra brain working on doing something. And I don't want to say like the snooker players are the babies in that situation, but I suppose they are actually, aren't they? Yeah. But you're like, yeah, you are...
I am the grandmother.
You are the grandmother who just keeps everything calm and just makes sure that everything's in place. No, don't worry about it. Look, I've got it. Just focus on what you need to focus on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good way of It's a good comparison.
Yeah. It's maybe a little bit of a weird one, but seeing as it just happened yesterday, this conversation is kind of fresh in my mind.
I completely understand that. I completely get that, 100%. Because even like obviously, I'm expecting my first child in July.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just talking to my fiance about that and just saying, you know, because her mum lives around the corner. I'm already panicking, thinking about going to China and thinking about that I've got work to do and that, you know, she's going to be on maternity leave. Someone needs to go out and work and be able to provide. Thinking that with a newborn baby, someone that's going to be exhausted and can't really do anything for a little while because they've just given birth, you need to think ahead. So someone like her mum that's going to come in and look after allows me to kind of go out and do what I need to do to provide. So exactly the same scenario. The pressure's on them to play snooker. They have to be fully committed to what they're doing. They're making a big sacrifice to go and play. Just having that extra bit of help to go, do you know what? Here's your food. Here's where we're eating now. Here's the taxi. The taxi's on its way. Go and chill out. Just completely decompresses and allows them to feel a little bit more normal, not pressured, not having to think too much all the time. just completely makes a huge difference.
So Louis was on the podcast early last year, and he had only just joined the TW Sports Management stable at that point. But one of the things I remember we spoke about was, one, the ambition to just become a better player, always looking to improve no matter what you've achieved. But also the fact that this is someone who, whether it be you or whether it be one of your counterparts for other players, just somebody who can take care of and is probably better at taking care of administrative stuff.
Yeah.
The fluff, which, you're going to be better at it than he is, and he's going to be better at potting balls than you are.
Honestly, that's the best way of putting it. The fluff. That's a good way of saying it, because, like you said, snooker's so flipping difficult as it is. Having someone to help facilitate other things that are off the table to make life on the table a lot easier makes a huge difference. I can't actually explain how much of a difference it does make. I know it sounds like a selling point because I'm trying to make sure, players stay with me and maybe new players come on board, but genuinely just having that extra pair of hands, there's a lot of players now that are taking friends and girlfriends and mums and dads all around the world with them, because just having that extra pair of hands makes a huge difference.
No, but it's good to get this kind of insight from somebody who sees the tour most days, and I suppose can see the different ways in which players handle the tour, because everyone's going to be different, and I suppose it depends on personality, it depends on opportunity, it depends on the setup you have, the network you have, friends, family, things like that. So everyone's going to be different, but to hear these kind of insights, it's good information to get, and please.
That's good. I always like sharing stories, and that's a big part of kind of the ethos of my management business. I don't do my podcast because I want to talk about snooker 24/7. I don't do my podcast because I want people to recognise me in the street and go, "Oh my God, that's Taylor Wilson." I'm not really bothered about that sort of stuff. I'm more bothered about offering fans to have more access to players, understand what life is like as a snooker player. We do video logs and we do YouTube videos and TikToks and just stupid stuff to show that these players, on TV, they're miserable as sin, and they have to be. Because if they turn around telling jokes and smiling and being all silly, either they're arrogant or they're not serious at what they want to do and what they want to achieve in their career.
Yeah, you've got to be serious when you're on the table. It's in so many ways, because whether you're playing one of your mates, for the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, that's not your friend. That's actually a competitor.
Yeah.
And same with, I don't like to bring him up again, but Ronnie O'Sullivan. It's like, well, no, that's not your hero right now. That's someone who's stopping you from climbing the rankings right now.
That's someone taking away your living from you. That's someone taking away your income. That's someone taking elements of your life away. Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, but I got to play Ronnie O'Sullivan. Yeah, but did you beat him? Did you even get close to beating him? And this was the case for a while. And when you see players now pushing him and now beating him, that's promising. It's good for the future of the sport. I think that's it's positive, it's promising, and it gives me hope. Not the fact that Ronnie's losing. Okay, I'm never going to complain about that. But the fact that there are people who are now able, technically and emotionally, to challenge him. So I think that can only be a good thing when you're challenging the standard bearers. That's only good for the quality of the sport. So long may it continue. Long may it continue. Today, Taylor Wilson has been generous enough to give his time and share some thoughts on the world of snooker, details from the events, behind the scenes as well. Over the coming months, you can expect more guests on the Snooker Hub podcast from different corners of the snooker community. One of the most exciting events of the season is Judgment Day. Winners of those matches will earn the right to play at the Crucible, the pinnacle of the sport. And that's a really good segue. Another one, because the man behind the Crucible Almanac, Chris Downer, will join me on the Snooker Hall podcast to look ahead to the World Championship. He knows his snooker, he's great to talk to, and I'm looking forward to hearing his opinions on this year's showpiece event in Sheffield. Keep your eye on your podcast feed for that episode. And also on YouTube, Bay's Breakdown, fantastic channel. Tom was a guest on the Snooker Hall podcast a few months ago. He's a big snooker fan, great content. I will be making an appearance in an upcoming episode of his Table Talk series, so keep an eye on your YouTube feed for that. Several other high-profile guests are due to appear on this podcast over the spring and the summer. More details and dates to be announced soon. At this time of year, people just want to talk about snooker, and I'm more than happy to oblige. More than happy. Taylor, thanks for your time. I really appreciate the insight, the chat, the opinions. It's always nice to talk to you. If I do see you in Sheffield in the graduate, we'll get a punt.
We'll have to go for a beer. But no, Thank you very much for having me on. Big fan of the Snooker Hall podcast. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep creating good content, and we'll catch up soon. Yeah.
Where can snooker fans find the content you make?
Just everywhere. TW Sports Management, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, on Twitter, or X should I call it. We are TW Sports Manager. Not enough letters to fit onto X, but yeah, everywhere. We're everywhere. So go give us a follow.
Sounds good. And once again, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for having me.
I'll see you soon, Taylor. Thanks.
Cheers.